a constitution that will protect them.
That was 18 years ago or so. Of course, a new constitution was finally promulgated this year. It will be marking 10 years. Welcome back to Inside Politics. Now, as discussions to unlock the stalemate on the revenue sharing continue, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto have separately weighed in on the debate. Speaking in Nairobi Friday, the president appealed for equity and adherence to the guidelines by the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Speaking at his Sugoi home in the county of Uasin Gishu, the DP called for moderation to ensure a win-win formula. Listen.
Tukiongea hii mambo ya Senate, hii si pesa ya Uhuru, ati watu waseme Uhuru hii formula si ilitolewa na wale watu wa SRC. Si imeenda Senate kusema watu wagawe pesa kwa njia ya haki, kila mtu apate haki. Kwa nini mwananchi wa Nairobi ati kwa sababu inasemekana ati Nairobi ni mji tajiri, wewe ambao unaishi Embakasi na Korogosho bado unafunga choo kwa karatasi, lakini unaambiwa wewe ni tajiri, huna haki ya kupata pesa? Ukweli na haki utajitokeza.
Lakini wakati tunachunguza formula hiyo upya, ni haki kwamba counties zile kubwa zenye watu wengi waongezewe rasilimali na waongezewe pesa. Lakini hapo hapo tusiwasahau counties zile ndogo kama Vihiga, kama Isiolo, pia na tufikirie zile counties ambazo zimekuwa marginalized siku nyingi kama Turkana, Mandera, ili hata kama pesa zao zitapungua, zipungue kwa kiasi ambayo haitawadhulumu ama haitadhulumu utendakazi katika counties hizo.
So last week's debate, or last week's special sitting at the Senate was the 9th time that the Senate was trying to come up with a winning formula to get away for the 47 counties to share the revenue, whether it's 316 billion or whatever amount it is going forward. Gloria, we haven't had your thoughts on this. Let me begin with you. What do you think about this stalemate at the Senate? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel from where you sit?
I think that we are finally debating the issue, the actual issue on revenue allocation. It had gone a wrong direction when we were flexing our muscles on numbers, who has the numbers, whether Tangatanga or Kieleweke and whatnot, but we have come back full circle to talking about the issue, which is the formula which affects certain marginalized counties. And this committee that has been put aside now, I strongly believe that they are actually going to take us forward with making sure that we have a win-win allocation formula so that those already marginalized counties are not necessarily going to suffer from losses in terms of that 18% that was being given to under the population. And one thing I want to just mention is that you hear both the president, our President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the deputy president speaking about equity. And the issue on equity will not necessarily be met by certain things that are in that formula, including the percentages that they had put out on population, on poverty, on fiscal responsibility, and stuff like that. Because when you're looking at equity, it's really not that we are going to give 316 billion to all the counties and then hope that they make something out of it. But it's understanding that some counties are already in such a bad situation in terms of infrastructure and development that they might need more than that 316, or is it 240 billion? So the issue on equity is very important. And just aside from politics, you can see that everyone seems to be, by everyone, I mean both the president and the deputy president, are speaking in the same, they're saying that we must look at a win-win position and we must look at equity. Right. So I think, for me, I have a lot of hope in this committee that has been set aside. And I think that it's actually going to come up with a win-win formula. But Ben, just, I know to take you back, I want to correct Mark Bichache on the 43 million that he claims. The 43 million money on the, was not necessarily the health. Mark, I'd like to correct him. That is from the donor funding. The 43 million that is lost is from the donor funding. It's not the budget on Ministry of Health. So maybe he's not informed on that matter.
All right, all right. I'll be getting him to comment on that later on.
Yes.
Rosalind, let me come to you. Give us the latest on this issue. We had a lot of drama during that special sitting where 3 senators were arrested coming to the day of the votes. Finally, the Senate decided to institute a 12-member committee. Now we understand, the Standard is reporting that now the senators are looking to the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Kuria Tani. How does he come into this?
Ben, if you look at the cutout of the work of this committee last week when Orengo moved the adjournment motion, he said that they were giving this committee time to call all the stakeholders that they thought were important to help them unlock this stalemate. And Treasury was one of the stakeholders that were called on Friday. This committee had a session with Treasury, and they also had a session with the Commission on Revenue Allocation. So based on the deliberations that they had with these two institutions and the previous amendments that were shared and discussed within this committee, remember this committee has 7 amendments brought by various senators. And by Friday, when they ended their meeting in the afternoon, they decided that they are going to wait on Treasury to come and give them a commitment, because right. The issue here is retaining the status quo under the current budget, which is 316.5 billion, so that the counties can get the same share as what they got in the last financial year. But coming to the next financial year, that is July next year, they implement the new formula that they are discussing now. So that will be determined on what Treasury will commit in the coming years, because this formula is supposed to spread 5 years. So if Treasury gives them an affirmative figure for the next 5 years, an increment of the annual increment, then they are able to agree on which formula is to go with. Now, if you look at the debate that happened last week on Monday, there were the amendments by Senator Mithika Linturi, which was retaining the baseline at 270 billion,
right,
and also having the 46.5 billion shared among with the proposed new formula, which again they did not take a vote to amend the Finance Committee report that actually reviewed the CRA proposed formula. But if you look at it, they're saying the president, Raila Odinga, and also ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi have actually rallied behind a proposed amendment by nominated Senator Petronila Were, which is also supporting the baseline at 316.5 billion for now. But now, proposing that the new formula be pegged on 31.5 billion that Treasury is supposed to give. So inside sources within this committee that has not come out to give us the process that they've reached so far, right, is saying that based on all these formulas that have come before them, they are in agreement, majority are in agreement that they should go with the Sakaja formula, Johnson-Sakaja formula, which was retaining the baseline at 316.5, and then the subsequent allocation, if they implement the new formula, be pegged on the original proposals by CRA, and not the amended proposals by the Finance Committee chaired by Kirinyaga Senator Charles Kibiru, which has actually divided the House, that has now sprung up these many amendments that the House did not anticipate, because this is not the first time that the Senate is considering this formula. Remember, the second generation formula that has expired was passed in 2016, but it was through consensus. So this is the first time we are seeing senators divided on which formula to go with.
Okay. All right. Mark Bichache, come into this. Tell us what you think is happening here. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, there is light, in the sense that this is an opportunity for egos to be put aside, for them to actually have a conversation without the pride of place that they've all been looking for. So there is hope in the committee, and there's a lot of sober minds there. The only thing that is worrying me is that the president and the deputy president seem to be reading from different scripts, and we know when that happens, then definitely the senators may sit and read and say, you know what, maybe we need to follow our leader and where they're going. And that's really the danger. The danger here is not that the formulas are that contentious, because the basis of argument is quite logical, if you ask me, because there is sense to saying that the majority counties do need more funds because such functions as healthcare do need funds, but there is also merit in saying that the smaller counties with lower population also need the help to get themselves developed and to the capacity that other counties have. So both arguments make sense, but what will only derail this process is the political undertones and what will be assumed as a win for which side if the formula is taken as is, or if the Sakaja formula is taken. And then of course you've seen the rumors and innuendo as to who's financing which side of Senate, who's paying senators to do this. And that kind of politicking is what will most likely lead to a delay of getting a formula out. But Ben, let me just address Gloria shortly that I have participated in the budgeting process, and part of the budget of any ministry, any parastatal, when you receive donor funding, it has to be recorded within your budget. It has to be there, and it was not 43 million, it is 43 billion that is saying to be missing. I also want to remind her that the monies that were received did not all go to the Ministry of Health. A lot of the funds were given in kind in terms of reagents and things like that. The other amount of money was taken to Treasury to shield the economy against lower taxes. You also have some funds which indeed went to the ministry, and there's a record for what went to the counties and what was spent at the 5 national government led hospitals. So the invite her to not just listen to sensational journalists. She should listen more to Roslyn Obala. She's a bit more sober, and also take a book and actually read the facts that are there. Let's not just follow the emotions that are there. And that does not mean that I'm saying there is no corruption within the Ministry of Health. There is. The only thing that I'm questioning is the numbers don't add up.
You're questioning the 43 billion. You've said that quite clearly. Thank you for that. Gloria, let me give you 30 seconds to respond to that.
Mark, however way you try to craft a narrative about the money that was lost, whether it was 5 shillings, 43 billion, or 6 million, money was lost. And it was lost under the watch of Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe. And it's not money from the budget. It's not money from the national budget. It's also money that we are receiving from the international community in terms of donor funds. So that's one thing. Whether we can beat above the bush so many ways, but that money was lost. And what we're trying to say as Kenyans is we need to hold someone accountable, whether it's the cabinet secretary starting from there so that he can resign, and all those companies that were listed. Can we be told the directors? Can the names of the shareholders and the directors and the people in those operations who are signing and receiving that money be brought to the forefront so that we can question them, so that we can ask them?
All right, your 30 seconds are up, Gloria. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to this during the final thoughts to conclude on the matter. Let's get back to what's happening at the Senate. And let me now bring Kipchumba Karori. Kipchumba, tell me this. Fiscal analysts have been saying that we are splitting hairs over this, really. Is there so much political capital, attached to which side of this you are on, whether you're supporting a win-win formula, or whether you're supporting equity, or whether you're supporting the population formula? Is there so much political capital attached to this that the senators are willing to let it drag on and on and on just because of the political machinations?
Ben, thank you. And maybe, Ben, before I answer that question, I would like to caution Bichachi to dissuade himself from using the show as a sanitizer. It is very interesting in this day and age to see Bichachi defend corruption. It is one of those days I'm happy to be alive. And any viewer who has been here in this show for the last 4 years will tell you, just the same way Bichachi has an opinion on Luhya unity, he has had the same opinion on corruption. I hope he can go back to the same place he stood when it was Kemwarera and Aror. back to your question, Mark. When in terms of political capital, I don't see, when I sit down and put everything in a political table, I don't see the much political capital derived from the debate. But what is derived from the debate is the discussion that if the 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote thing loses, it is Uhuru Kenyatta who have lost. And that began with how Irungu Kangata fashioned this debate on revenue allocation. But the debate on revenue allocation, just like the other two that were done under Uhuru Kenyatta, or the second one that was done under Uhuru Kenyatta and the first one, there was nothing so much because there was leadership in terms of the guiding of the principles of coming up with a formula. But currently, Ben, the problem that we find ourselves in is a leadership problem. And then the second issue that these people are facing, we are having a problem of people getting to know the disposition between equity and equality. There is a clash between the two things, and this clash can only be resorted in the following way. You lock up some money under the equitable revenue sharing, and then now the remaining sum, you take it under equalization fund. And the question that any sane Kenyan ought to ask at this juncture is, why 10 years after devolution, we don't have an equalization fund act to operationalize the equalization fund? It is the only place where it can help the counties that are losing money so that they can recover that money through equalization fund. But where we are currently, no matter how much we discuss, so long as it is still the debate on whether equity or equality takes the day, we can never get outside. And my final point is this. I express a lot of concern when the President of the Republic of Kenya shows up in a debate when we are in the 10th round. It shows a lot of other things. And Jubilee controlling 29 senators or 28 senators, they ought to have whipped their numbers and caucused at the parliamentary group level to come up with a solution. Instead of the president lamenting like myself and Mark, we need to have and see leadership from that end.
Okay, tell me this, Bwana Wakili, you are a lawyer. 3 senators were arrested, coming into the debate on Monday. Some people, linked the two. The government denied that. Do you think the arrest of those 3 senators was linked to be able to tilt the numbers in the Senate?
Ben, there is no magic there. Everybody who has been around in this country will tell you, yes, the senators were arrested. It was linked to the debate. And it even muddies the discussion about revenue. And the question any serious onlooker will ask is this: why will a government be so much interested in a debate of 316 billion when it has 2.7 trillion? Then this is akin to a man who has taken a whole meat, coming and trying to influence how the soup of the meat will be shared, instead of allowing the people to just share soup on their own. This is the meat taker coming and forcing us on how we share the soup. And the thing is this, Ben, the net effect of that is that it makes people start having a different view and politicizing the discussion on revenue allocation, and bringing other things away from the formulas and the key tenets of discussing this. And maybe, Ben, what we must call out and what the media must come out and say is this: why was it necessary to arrest these people on the eve of the day they were to take a vote? Why didn't that? Our security sector has been liberalized. You can issue a warrant of arrest against Kipchumba and tell Kipchumba come to our station on this day, and I can communicate through my lawyer that on this day I have something pressing. I'll come the next day. We are a free and a democratic country. We should not allow people who want to achieve certain ends to take over.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Rosalind, what have you been hearing from the Senate on this issue of the 3 senators being arrested and the leadership style of the majority in the House?
Ben, if you followed that, we have actually been on that, and we have highlighted the issue of a leadership vacuum in the House. Because if you even follow the way the Speaker has conducted the House, and even raising the issues of procedure, then it shows you that there have been leadership crisis since the changes that were made in the House. Now, if you go with what happened to the 3 senators, and if you follow media reports that subsequently followed what happened, previously, before that sitting, there was the vote on the Linturi amendments where 25 senators carried the day against 20 senators. Now, if you look at that, it meant that the side that was opposed to the Linturi formula was having 22 senators as opposed to the other side that have crystallized their name as Team Kenya, standing for Kenya. There were 25. Now, it will be so suspicious that the 3 senators who were actually arrested on the eve of the vote were all senators who were supporting the Linturi formula. So that meant that they were going to lose 3 senators while the other side was going to have an additional 2 senators. Because if you look at the voting in the Senate, it's very different from the voting in the National Assembly. Any issue touching on counties is voted through a delegation. So that meant that if the sitting senator was not there, then you delegate that vote to a nominated senator from that county. Now, if you look at the 3 senators who were arrested, it is only the senator for Samburu, Stephen Lelengwe, that didn't have a delegation. So that meant that that vote was lost. Now, if you came to the senator of Kakamega, Cleophas Malala, then we were told that Naomi Shionga was already lined up to support, to vote on behalf of Kakamega.
Right.
And Naomi Shionga was aligned to the side of the government, so it meant that the vote was going to be against the Linturi formula. The same also applied to Cleophas Lagat. We were told that already nominated Senator Alice Murgo had already been lined up to vote again on against the Linturi formula. So this was a calculated move to ensure that those votes were actually tilted towards the Petronila Were formula that was being supported by the government. But again, Team Kenya side, if you saw what happened in the House, it was quite interesting that they lost a vote on an adjournment motion that was moved by Tharaka-Nithi Senator Kithure Kindiki, but they pulled again another card. They opposed the speaker. They actually put the speaker on task to vote on whether these 2 senators were going to vote on behalf of their delegation. Because remember, when these 2 senators were arrested, they actually wrote to the speaker through their lawyers, withdrawing authority to vote on their behalf.
All right.
So when the speaker was actually communicated on the same, and he said his hands are tied, and he could not give a direction on the same because the standing orders and the law stipulate what should happen, then it threw the other side off balance because they didn't expect the speaker to take that position. And that is why now we arrived at the 12-member mediation committee, because they realized that they had lost numbers on the other side. And that is why the other side have been linking the arrest of the 3 with that crucial vote.
All right. Indeed, this, we'll keep an eye on what's happening at the Senate with that 12-member mediation committee and whether they'll be able to find consensus and come up with a winning formula finally. Let's take another quick commercial break here on Inside Politics. When we get back, we shall be getting into some real politics and talking about the political happenings in Ukambani, where we are seeing Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka